The next thing we're going to cover is my side draper tension. So my side draper tensioner bolt here, this is the same on all models. So as you tighten this bolt, you'll see this white indicator is going to move inboard. That's increasing my tension. As I back this bolt up, you're going to see it decrease my tension. So properly tensioned belt is right dead center, just like that. This is my tracking for my belt tracking. This is all set from the factory, and I don't recommend you should ever have to touch this. If you see an issue with a belt tracking, that's tracking up or down in the frame, like it's up against the back sheet or down against the cutter bar. First thing I want to do is I want to back my belt tensions off here. I'll show you that shortly. I want to check my drive roll in the center, the bearing there, and also the bearings on my idler roll out here on the end, as well as check the rolls to make sure there isn't debris built up on it. It's causing a tracking issue. So next thing we're going to cover is the side drapers. So in the FD1 book, this is on page 19, and then page 13 in the FD75 book. So right here is your tensioner for your side drapers. As you can see, it's a little loose right now. If you tighten this up, that white indicator in there is going to move inboard to increase the tension. So that's how you tighten it up if you had a decrease. So when that's properly tensioned, that indicator will be dead center in this opening right here. But for right now, I'm going to back this off because we're going to open up this draper. So if you just loosen this up till this bolt is like that, when you try to pull your draper up out, you're only going to be able to get the draper pulled up about 3 inches up by the cutter bar. So I'm going to continue to turn this bolt back and get this bolt backed out a good inch or so. So that way, when I push in on this frame here, it actually will allow me to pull my belt up a lot further up in the front. So make sure your idler's pushed in all the way here, and then we can walk around to the front and open up this draper. So the easiest way to open your draper is have your connector slat at the top here, and then you can fairly easily pull this draper up out just like we are here to do your inspections. So I'm having a hard time getting my draper pulled up as far as it could, and the reason that is because if you look down in here, you can see all kinds of dirt and debris in here. So what I'm going to do is I need to split this draper here, and we got to open this thing up and get this draper split open, and then we'll take a look inside here and see why we have all this dirt and debris in here. So I have my draper opened up now. You can see all the dirt built up down inside here at the bottom, and what is causing that is the next thing that I want to cover. It's called my deck seal, and that's on page 8 in the FD1 book and page 11 in the FD75 book. So on page 8 in your FD1 book here that I have in my hand, basically what we have is this cast hook that is right here, is locked into this cutter bar frame. And what that is on the back side here, there's carriage head bolts. And you loosen these 2 nuts up, just 2 flats, and this frame needs to get moved up because this gap on this draper here should only be 1 to 3 millimeters. So when this gap gets wide, dirt, debris, all that material ends up and then ends up down there at the end of your roller. So we're going to clean that out here so we can put this thing back together. In your op manual, it also gives greater further detail on how to adjust this deck seal to get that adjusted. So you basically want that set so that belt is almost touching the underside of this cutter bar channel and not rubbing to increase resistance of the draper moving across there, wear, and excess high load on the hydraulic system. So another thing you do, we went through the deck seal quickly, how you do that. So another thing you want to be inspecting is your drapers. So this is my left-hand draper. This part is the part that's going in towards the center. So you want to be looking at this splice here and make sure that this belt's not starting to get tore back, because as this tears back, if this, I like to call it like a little rubber flap, sticks out far enough, as it comes over a roll in the center or the outboard end, when that gets long enough, it gets tore back, that gets caught on something, it's going to rip this whole bottom edge of your belt off. So you want to make sure that you're inspecting these belts. One nice thing about these MacDon belts is they have double sets of punch holes in here, so you can actually shorten this belt up to this extra set of holes. You cut this back at a 45, you taper the top edge at a 45, and then the V-guide on the bottom, you taper that back at a 45, and then when you trim your belt off, do not trim it flush with this connector slat on top here. You want to make sure that you're keeping that rubber about a 1/4 inch above this metal flap here. So that's one other thing to look on your drapers. The second thing is inspect your drapers. If you get small holes in it, maybe a rodent or a stick pokes a hole in it, these are rubber belts. You can prep it just like a tire inner tube. You can actually patch them with radial tire patches. You got to use thin tire patches, because if you don't use a thin tire patch, when it goes around them small diameter rolls on either end, that patch will come off. So you want to patch it on the inside and outside of the belt. Another thing with these MacDon belts is they have a V-guide at the top and the bottom. So the V-guide is used at the inboard drive roll there. There's a V-guide in that drive roll, and that's where that V rolls in. So like this one here, this belt's getting a little bit of worn on the bottom here. So this belt, you could take this belt out and flip it 180 degrees, so this bottom would be at the top and the top would be at the bottom, because this top edge here is nice new, there's no wear on it at all. And then you can reassemble that back together. Just make sure you take your connector bar off and put it back on so your head's first when you come around that inside drive roll, because if you do not take this connector bar off and you flip your belt, these bolts will just act like a bunch of fingers when they come around the center there, and they're going to grab crop and pull it right underneath over top of your feed deck frame in the center.